Bree. How are you today?
All right, how are you?
I'm good. So before we go into the early alerts that I got on you last week, I kind of just want to get to know you a little bit. So I was looking at your transcript before you came in. You have a lot of credits from Brookdale and Rutgers. Do you want to just tell me a little bit about how those schools were for you?
Yeah, Brookdale was really easy, and I got my associates, and then I went to Rutgers afterwards. But Rutgers was a lot harder.
Okay.
And it got really difficult at times, so that's why I dropped out and decided to start working full-time.
Okay, so what do you do when you work full-time?
I sell insurance, but, that's not, no one wants to do that as their career, so...
So that's definitely not your long-term goal. You want to kind of get out of there?
Yeah, no, I was thinking about, I've always wanted to do something with psychology. I've always been interested in it. I was thinking about maybe doing, school counseling or something like that.
Mm-hmm. So why school counseling?
Well... When I was doing, before I dropped out when I was an undergrad, I had an internship where I worked with students, and I worked one-on-one with them, and I really enjoyed spending that time with them and actually seeing how I could make a difference in someone else's lives. And I really think that that's something that I would like to do.
Great. So if that's something that especially you have experience with, I think you'd be very good at. So I'm glad you came back. And why did you choose Georgia Court? Did you think we had a good psychology program or?
The class times are really convenient around my schedule because I am working full-time, and I've heard good things about the psychology program.
Yeah, no, I think that was a good point because we try to cater to the non-traditional students, the students who have those full-time jobs. So we kind of try to work around fitting with your schedule. So I'm glad that helps. Mm-hmm. So today you were brought in, I was asking you came in, because of your early alerts. You received 2 of them last week from both of your professors. So just kind of tell me a little bit about what's going on in child psych and women and gender.
Well, child psych, it's hard because everyone in the class is a lot younger than me, so I feel kind of awkward speaking up in class, and a lot of the grade is participation based, and since I don't really talk, I'm not really getting the points where I should be. Okay. And then the Women and Gender Studies class is a lot harder than I expected it was going to be. I took it because I thought it would be an easy A, and it would just count as an elective, and I would get a good grade in it. But I'm finding that since it's online, I'm having a lot of time, a lot of issues finding time to do the work. Okay. Because it's not set in my schedule already.
Yeah, no, I think online classes, people think they're a lot easier than they are, but usually those classes have a lot more work to kind of balance out not actually being in class. So we can totally do I don't know how familiar you are with time grids. Have you ever done one before?
I've never heard of that.
Okay, so that's something that we could totally do right now. Do you by any chance have your syllabus with you for women and gender?
There.
Okay. So let's just look at this. All right. So you know how to look at your syllabus, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I just want to make sure. Sometimes it's a little bit difficult to understand. So in the back, your professor nicely wrote out exactly when all your stuff is due. So that's really easy. It's kind of hard sometimes if they don't do that. So you have every week a discussion post, and every 2 weeks you have a responding paper to do, where I guess you have to tell me a little bit more about that. Do you have to?
I have to respond to somebody else's discussion. And kind of follow up on their ideas and give my point of view on it. Okay,
so have you been doing these assignments, or have you kind of been not keeping up with the due dates?
Yeah, the due dates kind of just come and go before I get a chance to really get into all the work. Okay. I get home from work at 5 o'clock, and I want to go home, eat dinner, and relax. I don't want to go on my computer and read through all these posts and write a paper about it. That's not. I'm having a hard time finding time to do it. Okay, and I think that's something that I can definitely help you with, especially because in this class it looks like every week with that discussion post, that's always due at midnight on Sunday. Yeah. So we're going to try to figure out when in your schedule it works to do that. So let's just kind of break down your week for me. So Monday through Friday you work 9 to 5. Yes.
Is that kind of just your, all right. That's Monday, Friday, so we'll just do 9 to 5. Okay. So when do you have class for child psych?
It is from 6 to 9 on Tuesdays and Thursdays.
Okay. So you are busy Tuesdays and Thursdays. It seems like you're going to get basically nothing
done.
Nothing
ever gets done.
That makes sense. So those are your 2 days that we don't have to worry about. It's totally fine if out of a 7-day week you don't do any schoolwork on those days besides go to class. So on Monday, how likely is it for you when you get home at 5:30, 6 o'clock for you to do any work?
It's usually pretty rare.
Okay, that's fine. So maybe we won't focus too much on that. Is that kind of what your Wednesday looks like too? Would you do work on Wednesday?
I mean, I guess I could make time for it.
Okay. I think it might be helpful because you don't want to push all your work to the weekend just because you work 5 days a week. You don't want to have to push all of your work to the weekend. So maybe if you gave yourself, like, which day do you think would be the most likely day that you would want to do this discussion post? Monday, Wednesday, or Friday night?
Probably Wednesday because Friday, people like to go out on Fridays.
Yeah, no.
I completely understand. I would really like to save some free time on the weekends for myself to not be doing work or schoolwork.
Good. Okay. So that works. So then every Wednesday night you will get that discussion post. Now it's in your schedule. You kind of know that that's just going to be what you do. And then on the weekend, maybe you can follow up and respond to someone else's post because they have a long time. So you don't know when they're going to post and you don't have to worry about that. So would you want to do that Saturday? Would you want to give Saturday off? I like to give myself off on Saturday. It's kind of a nice day to relax, but it's up to you. Because it's due Sunday at midnight, so remember you have some time.
Yeah, I'd probably do it like Sunday morning.
Okay. So what time do you usually wake up on Sundays?
Like 10:30.
Okay. So let's say like 11:30. You could do this.
Yeah, that makes sense.
All right. So 11:30, we'll do response post. And then for all these weeks, if you follow this, you'll get this work done for women and gender. I do know, I think you have some sort of paper coming up. Okay, so you do have a paper coming up in March, late March. When do you think it's reasonable that you would actually start that paper?
I mean, I've always been a very last minute type of person. Like, I've started, 10-page papers like the day before they're due, which I know is terrible.
But does that work for you, would you say? Or do you think, like, you kind of, it's harder for
I mean, I usually do pretty well on them, but, like, I am very stressed out for that, like, day or two that I'm working on it, so it probably would be better to start sooner.
Okay. So, if it's due, this says it's due March 27th, when would you start that, would you say? If you, realistically, I don't want you to say I'll start it like February.
Yeah, I don't want to lie and make myself seem like I'm going to actually do it.
Okay, that's fine.
It'll probably be started somewhere around like the 20th. Like, I'll say a week is probably realistic.
So then you can even, I mean, I would recommend, do you have a planner or something, or do you not use a planner?
No, I don't usually use a planner.
Okay, so how would you remember to do that? Do you use Post-its? Do you kind of just in your head?
I tend to write things like in my phone, like in like a calendar or something like that.
If that works for you, I'm not that high tech yet, but if that works, then go for it. Maybe just write down like March 21st, start that paper. So then at least you don't have to worry about like, oh my god, March 27th, I have to get this done, like it's due. Just to kind of give yourself a little bit more time. And this is something that I recommend doing frequently, kind of just writing down what your week looks like, because something might change. You might have something next week that you didn't have this week. And then, like, we didn't even get to discuss child psych, so I don't even know where that would fit yet. Do you know what that class usually looks like? Because I know you don't have the syllabus for it.
I mean, we usually have a test, like, every 3 weeks.
Okay.
And, like, a paper due, like, once a month.
Okay. So, have you started anything for either of the, like, a paper or the test, or no? It's okay if you haven't.
I started studying for the test that's, like, next week, but I don't know, I didn't do very well on the last one. Like, I'm just not really good at studying.
Okay. So, you're not going to... Is it the content-based, or do you... Like, I totally recommend a tutor if it's...
Yeah, I think I need, like I don't know how to study properly. I think I need, like, tips, or if that, like, makes sense.
Yeah, no, that makes tons of sense. I can completely help you with that. I can, like, kind of take on the role of your academic coach if you're up for that. Where, like, I work with students all the time, like, for early alerts or probation students, and we kind of go over, like, how to write that paper, how to study. Don't get me wrong, I don't know content, so if that's kind of where your issue is, I recommend more the tutoring aspect. But I can definitely give you tips on appropriate ways to study. So would you want to meet with me. And we don't have to meet, because I know you have kind of like a
different I was going to say, like, I would actually love that, but I don't know when I would have time to come in, like.
Okay, that makes sense. And I have a couple students who are like that, full-time workers. I can do a phone conversation with you weekly, if that would that seem like something you'd want to do?
I think I could probably fit that into my schedule.
So let's just say this week we already met, but let's say your next week looks exactly like this week. Would you want to do it? I don't know how long of a lunch you get, so I don't know if you'd want to waste your lunch talking to me, if you want to do it after.
Would after 5 be too late, or?
Sometimes I have late days here, so I would say my late day would be, let's say, Monday. I can kind of do a late day on Monday. So I would probably be there till 6-ish. So would you want to do?
Yeah, I could do Monday night if that works.
Okay. So let me just write that down here so you can meet. Well, not meet with me. I'll call you. And then I'll put you in my schedule for Mondays. And we can always change that. That doesn't have to be like a constant time that we meet or anything. But otherwise, is there really anything else that's going on? Because I'm going to report back to your professors that kind of show that you were doing well and I'm helping you now.
No, I mean, that's just really it. I just have a hard time, like, figuring out when to do things.
Okay.
You know, I have a lot on my plate in terms of my schedule, and, I mean, is there any way maybe you could recommend that I can get better participation in class, since, like, I don't know, I'm, like, kind of nervous talking in front of everybody, because, like, you know, I feel weird being, like, the old person in the class.
Mm-hmm. And I understand that, but the way I recommend that you look at that is kind of, you have more experience than these 18 to 21-year-olds, 22-year-olds. So you have the work experience, you know what's kind of going on in the real world that they didn't get yet. So maybe kind of answering questions, and don't answer all the questions if you really don't know, that's fine. Mm-hmm. But like, I think they would really value your opinions, especially since you know things that they don't know. So just kind of looking at it that way might be really beneficial for you. And especially since it's such a participation heavy class, you want to kind of talk a little bit more. And if you really find that you can't, maybe talk to your professor, see what they suggest. Maybe they'll suggest something else for you to kind of make up those points. But trying to see that they would definitely value what you had to say would be really good.
I think I'll try that, I think.
Okay, good. So I have you on my schedule for next Monday. And until then, you can keep this sheet, and I would just recommend utilizing it. Trying to keep up with it, and when we're on the phone, I'll kind of go over what your week looks like. But that's really it for right now. So if you don't have anything else, I hope you have a nice week.
You too, thanks.
You're welcome.